What is up, all my beautiful and gorgeous souls? This is Breaking the Cage Astrology TV, and I am LSF, Shaman, Michelle Espinosa. I got a bunch of different names I'm going by anymore. This week is for August 25th through the 31st. However, this video, I'm going to go into a little bit of the blueprint. And I am going to go into the astrology and the energy of this week. But what I'm really getting is more like, yo, make sure you're getting on board for the next 6 months. Like, seriously. Like, it's like really eye-opening next 6 months. Next year, actually. As we come into, we're getting ready to approach eclipse season. And eclipse season is always taking, a 6-month situation. It has to do with where the north node and the south node is, the nodes to the moon. And the conversation that it's having with us and with source, so to speak. Trying to find a way of putting it the way we've been hearing since 2020. It's a whole new world. But is it? And what I mean by that is it really, really, really should be. And you're over the next 6 months and into the next year, we're really, really addressing that new world and that new you. We're addressing building that new world. But first of all, that comes with us building the new us, which is not new at all. It's the true us. It's the real us. It's the us we didn't know that was us. So we're not even in shadow work anymore. This is like beyond shadow work. This is like getting into elite work. I mean, into, like I said, this is just so for people who have been on this path. And even if you haven't, even if you're new, that's fine. If you're just starting to walk this path or find your spirituality or find your inner soul and your inner depth and awaken to the consciousness, that's all fine. I'm not saying that if you haven't been doing it for 6, 7 years, 10, 12 years, that, this isn't for you. It still is. But shadow work in the mainstream is a lot lighter than the depth of where we're at. And we're at advanced, serious, spiritual work and the changes of this world. And that's why I go, it's the whole new world that you've been given since 2020. But here's the thing, it's not. And because this is what I'm getting from spirit. You've got to understand, like I said, it has a lot to do with us coming into eclipse season. And of course, I think the first eclipse is on the 18th of September, and then it goes into the 2 eclipses in October. And we've been only saying forever that the veil pretty much is gone. But this is time for us to start seeing what we couldn't see before. And I mean, the game, the hologram, the matrix, the images of different entities, all of it rolled up into the ball. Like I said, this is more advanced depth, oneness, But we have to really get right with oneness. And we so are not. And what I mean by that is we're looking at it from, like I said, that whole new world idea. We've been hearing that since 2020, but yet we still get up. We still follow the same mundane tasks. We still get up and live in this three-dimensional world as if things have, even though they've changed a lot, but we still get up, have to go to work. We still follow our routines. It's just like I keep seeing little commercials on on the phone, like when I'm watching a video or whatever, and constantly seeing like the homeschooling videos. I think it's K2 or something like that, K12, and homeschooling at home. But we are still so programmed in sending your children to school, whether it's private school or, general population of school. These are the things that I'm talking about. And here, we still are trained and still are working on the program, even though we're awakened and we're learning to break that program. We still follow society's rule. We still follow those rules and the authority of the outer world, even when sometimes we shouldn't. Like I said, we're those commercials of homeschooling again. I mean, when we really stop and think about it, is it that we enjoy sending our children off to school to learn because that's what we were trained, that's how we were raised, and we get our free time, our adult time, our parent time, you know, when except for when kids are home for summer. I mean, when the kids are out at school, that they're learning, and that's the way you were taught, and that's the way you were raised, and then your parents were raised, and so forth, da 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 da, off to school. But who's to say who is right at the right way of teaching? That if we put our love and our effort and our time and our energy into raising our children ourselves, the world that we could change, instead of the rules and stuff that have been and disciplining that schools put on us, that we've at some form gotten away from. And I'm using that as an example because I don't mean just that. I'm saying we still follow the way society has always been. We still follow society's rule. Three-dimensional, materialistic, or material world. And this has a lot to do with where we're going to see major changes start to take place, especially in the next 6 months, over the next 6 months, and for crying out loud, major as we approach that next new year. So your regular mundane tasks, your regular day-to-day activity, your regular day-to-day energy diet, the routines of our life. And we've been beating this in astrology, with the relationships and our daily routines over and over and over and over again. But it's not quite getting in because we don't know how to be anything other than what we've been. That's part of that whole unlearning what you were taught so you can find out who you truly are, and really stepping into the great wide open of, I'm not ruled by anybody or anything. I don't have to take part in any of this three-dimensional, materialistic, 3D world in the way that they tell us we have to. See, because when we look 6 months ahead when we have the North Node and the South Node move. You're talking about major changes as that North Node comes into that universal 12th house of Pisces. And Pisces is all the secrets and skeletons in the closet. What you think has been being unloaded of the skeletons in the closet and all the shit that is coming out for us to hear. You ain't heard nothing yet about how much more is about to start coming out. And then the changes that have to go into making the new world. That 12th house is grief, sorrow, shame, blame, skeletons in the closet, all of the fear that we hold on to in our comfort zone and we grip onto instead of healing. Versus directly across from that is your mundane, your routines, the way we believe our life is supposed to be, the way we believe our energy diet is supposed to be, the way we believe our daily activity should be. And we're going to see that these rules only apply if we let them. If we're really doing our work and we're really tapping in and pulling the strength in and out of us, getting really into our source energy, our inner godding, our oneness, that we don't have to play. We can reshape everything. But as this is happening, you're coming into that next 6 months, right before, as we're still going through Aries energy, the North Node here in Aries, and the South Node still in Libra. So this is why I've said it has a lot to do with your routines, your mundane energy, what you're doing with your energy diet, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, where you're putting your energy diet and the people and the places that you're spending it with. Because we're looking at the 7th house versus the 1st house as we come into the eclipse season. It's smacked hard. Starting in, 3 weeks? And really reevaluating not even who we are, what built us, destroying the bad bones there, the ill bones, rebuilding a new foundation of what we're still holding on to. Like I said, I mean, we get caught up in bills in our 3-dimensional world. We get caught up in, Jeannie's got soccer practice and, I have this and then I have this birthday party and da-da-da-da-da. Stuck in the 3-dimensional instead of living the life of light, of source connection, and being able to truly become unstoppable because you're in that power. Plus, we're looking at for all of this time that I'm talking about, we're talking about Uranus getting closer to the end of Taurus. Uranus is not exactly powerful in Taurus. It's very uncomfortable here. Uranus is your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, your liberation. And it's in the possession of, are you the possession? Are you in possession of? We're really learning how to, in some levels, stop following the herd, stop being the sheep when we think that we're awakened, yet we're still in that circle of physical reality and timeline, that we're still following the same old story. You're really going to see a ton of mirroring take place, beating into our heads in really good ways. This is a wonderful thing, but it's really self-identity through mirroring of your daily routine and the people an energy that you're working with. That seventh house is not just about your relationship with others, your friends, your family, your co-workers, but your relationship with yourself. That first house, which is Aries, is the relationship with yourself, as well as how the outer world is seeing you. It's the character in which you are. So are we source? Are we in the oneness? Are we in that divine power? Or are we just somewhere still trying to comprehend what that is? And if that's where you are, that's fine. Because this is going to keep nailing us and nailing us and nailing us like it's been doing for the last 5 years. It's going to keep nailing us until we start really chipping away and coming, not even, like I said, it's no longer shadow work. This is truly identify with your inner source. Claim it. But like I said, it's still in a position of how do we teach you how to be in power of yourself without someone else possessing the power over you? Because we've been trained to be possessed into the sheep, into telling us how to live our life, how we live our life, what time we do this, and what we do every day in our activities. We're learning. None of that has to be, and we can be all we can be. Not to mention, you're looking at us for the next month, that seventh house with Libra. Libra is also harmony and balance and justice. And I say a million times because it's the scales. The scales of harmony, balance, and justice. It's not an animal or a person as far as the zodiac energy goes. It's a thing. And we're looking at it as being able to weigh the scales for balance and harmony. But when we get in this Libra energy, we forget to jump on a scale. We want to make harmony and balance and justice for everybody around us and make the situation as good as it could. And a lot of times what we do is we actually create more of, I don't want to say disharmony. We're trying to create harmony in areas where it don't belong because something needs to fall apart so that it can truthfully become corrected and healed and made better. But if it keeps being tweaked to get by, to settle, to make comfortable, it won't grow. And that is where we are at. No more settling. No more just getting by. No more just being comfortable. This is uncomfortable zone out of its so that you can no longer need to be comfortable to be your inner source. You can't let that light shine and know that you're an impenetrable force when you're clinging to something to make you comfortable. When you already know you are, that's different. That is power. And we're really looking at going into this energy. But as we come in here, you're going to have Lilith here, you're going to have Jera here, you're going to have the South Node here, and Venus here over the next month. Not to mention, over the next 2 months, I believe it is, you have Mars moving into Cancer as it leaves from Jupiter. As we're coming through this eclipse season, which is putting Mars directly in Cancer. And what this is saying, as soon as I'm seeing this and I'm having my conversation with Source and my higher self, this is taking us from being a mere human and identifying from three-dimensional perspectives into I am the breastplate of God. in the cavity of what protects the heart. That's Cancer. That's the Cancer energy. So this is literally speaking to us of our inner warrior, our inner SWAT team, our inner emotional security, our home within ourselves, no matter what is taking place. And putting that warrior here with intelligence and wisdom. So we are really looking at a beautiful, wonderful time of change, but you are going to see, I don't even want to say shit hitting the fan. You are going to see, especially over the next 6 months as we start this eclipse season, and then the following year, you're going to see the skeletons in the closet coming out like nobody's business. And where somebody truly is working that path and where they are totally that animal in a cage. And where you are in that mix of what's going on in your life and what you're choosing. At this time, though, now I'm going to get into the blueprint. At this time, this week, right now, we are still looking at the throat chakra. You have Uranus still in the throat chakra, but it's really going over energies of the throat, but of the nasal and visual energies. And I'm saying this because as things get tweaked, we're still seeing the Schumann resonance spiking. We're still having solar flares and so forth. The energies, I've said a million times, you're like in a vortex of, and we are learning to amplify who we are. We are becoming more activated, more stronger within our energies, and we're shedding funk so that we are capable of moving up in these energies as they move up. And so as these chakras start communicating with each other, organs start talking to each other, residual energy in the body, you're going to have, sacral chakra and visual. Sacral chakra having a conversation with your throat chakra, blah, 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 which tends to make things a little wonky. And Uranus, your independence, individuality, unique freedom, self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, feeling liberated, is definitely going over the nasal cavity as well as your visual energies, ear, nose, throat, more or less. But it's your eyes, your nose, and your throat more than the ears right now. And so sensitivity in these areas may be spiking. Now, Gemini is literally on the lungs. The ability to inhale and exhale and breathe and allow the lungs to widen and shrink as we are breathing. So this is, like I said, it's Gemini right now has Mars and Jupiter here. They're both going through this energy. Jupiter is your higher energy, your higher knowledge. In a form, he's a senior boss. Mars underneath him, but still the warrior, your inner SWAT team versus your higher knowledge and your abundance in communication, but also in the heart chakra, coming directly into what you're breathing in and what you're exhaling out. The energies of positive or negativity that you are breathing in and exhaling out, as well as what you are speaking and hearing and seeing. Then you've Mercury, which is in the heart itself. Your communication right now has to be to your heart. And to heart, unconditional loving, acceptance, forgiveness, starting with ourselves, with the changes and the growth we have and have not made. The sun is going to be moving into Virgo at the end of the week, or already in Virgo, sorry. And Vista is here, the home of the hearth. And This is all in the digestion. The digestion, the appendix, the intestines, the colon. This is what we are cleaning out, the waste, the weight that is coming through us. This is your sacral chakra and parts of the solar plexus, but mainly the sacral chakra and the relationships of what's being illuminated. What is the truth? Again, taking us back to the mundane. The people, places, and things of energy, your mundane routines, your energy diet is a form of what you are digesting, whether it is healthy or not. And we are learning that so much of our routines are still trying to be based off of what they were 4, 5, 6 years ago. Even if it's new jobs, it's still wanting to play that part, because that's what we've known, instead of completely coming into the world don't have to be this way. I don't have to play this game and follow this idea of life. What are we digesting in these relationships? Mirroring, mirroring, mirroring. But what is still going on inside of our body is what we're looking at this time. So this is definitely your visual aspect, your senses, your nose, having that sinuses, throat chakra, the chest, heart, all dealing with what we're still holding inside of what relationships look like versus what they really can be and should be. But we haven't experienced it, so we don't know it in many cases. And then you have Venus, which is going to be moving into Libra this week. Yeah, it wasn't the sun, it was Venus, which is going to be moving into Libra this week. And you also have Jera here with the South Node and Lilith. Like I said, they're going to be there this whole time. And this is all in the kidneys, the lower back. This has got a lot to do with circulation, a lot to do with hydration, but this has a lot to do with our relationship zones and the foundation of what they are built on and what we believe is healthy versus what really is, and what they can be versus what they are. But a lot of mirroring coming back to what we are. We can't build that new world until we truly build ourselves right. And that is where we're really starting to look at what we thought we've been working on authenticity and so forth, and getting deeper and rawer and going through all of that dark night of soul over and over and over again, and shadow work, when we're so past that. We're learning how not just to call our power back, but to simply breathe it in our everyday, in our digestion and our energy. Exhume it. That's power. And that is definitely something they don't want you learning. But all week we have some very powerful energies. And on top of each other, even, you have a yod. I've spoken many times about a yod. And yods are like the hand of creation. And this is Pluto. Everything is pointing to Pluto here, which is right here at the edge of Aquarius, about to dip back into Capricorn. So it's at the beginning of going, are you getting this, before we go back and get ourselves confused on going back into the old world again? Because Pluto is death, decay, and destruction for renewal, regeneration, rebirth. In Aquarius still. In 0 Aquarius, technically. And we're so right there about to step back into the old world of the old ideas, of the old foundation, of the old outer world, the old authority. And this is going, no. We've showed you. We're just it's right there. If you could just grab a hold of it, harness that bitch. Because it's going to come back and take one last dip as Pluto comes back into Capricorn here and go, this is where you really, really, really need to work on some stuff. And then it's going to come forward. But we're not there yet. But I'm warning you, that's where we're looking at. And that Yod energy is speaking with Jupiter and Mars and Gemini in your communication, in that heart chakra, and everything that's up close and personal. Everything that's up close and personal. And it's speaking directly with illuminating what? Your mundane tasks, your energy diet, your routines, and where these routines, again, are speaking to us in our communication of that's the way that it has to be done because that's the way you were taught. No. Stop following what we were taught. Follow the heart. Pluto is death, decay, and destruction for renewal, rebirth, regeneration, showing us we can have this new world, but we've really got to find out how to become what we want before we're actually going to see it come into reality. That's the mirroring. Believing, then seeing. Now you also have a grand trine on top of that, where Pluto is speaking with Uranus. Are you in the authority of you, or are you still under the authority of the world around you? Are you still being pushed around and following suit? Uranus and Taurus, the possessions of what make you feel good about your world, which helps manifestation. But when you're the possession of yourself, everything else is just extra. Or are you needing to feel comfort from something outside of yourself? And it is speaking directly with Venus as it moves from the 6th house to the 7th house, from these routines and into the relationships, into the harmony, the justice, the balance. This is all about our activity, our day-to-day, moment-to-moment, most powerful of energies. Venus is going to be testing you on where it's uncomfortable and what will you do with that uncomfortability. Are you crumbling and going back to what you've always known? Or are you stepping into it being like, nah, I'm an impenetrable force, nothing can stop me, I'm Superman? Not cocky, like, but stepping into that source energy, having so much faith in the universe and consciousness and the oneness that you know versus wanting to know, but allowing that 3D world to kind of just shake you up enough to maybe we can still take it from you, still keep you in line. This is a positive energy, but you've got to feel it, know it, believe it, and step into it. You also have Lilith and that North Node here very close to that Venus come the end of the week. So this is really saying at the end of the week, coming into the uncomfortability as we approach that new moon next week. Really showing us what we're having to redirect to start the new direction. And all of this is taking place before we hit that next eclipse. You have the new moon, and then the following eclipse will be a lunar eclipse. Penumbral, I can't remember how to pronounce it. Eclipse, and it's still in lunar energy. So this is about setting a direction now. And if you're doing this right, you're setting the direction to get on board, not just with this week, but your whole next 6 months. And keep it rolling. Straight uphill. Or watch that be an up and down bumpy road. You have a super chain reaction of energy. It's kind of like a kite energy, like the butt end of a kite energy as far as aspect goes, but it's very powerful. And you have Neptune is speaking in that 12th house. That's your magic. Being able to create fantasy versus reality. Fantasy smacks you in the face with harsh ass reality, depending on where your creation is, where your manifestation is, where your true belief is. Finding the healing to make these changes. Neptune is speaking with Pluto in the outer world, goals, dreams, ambitions, having the right tribe with you, not being manipulated, as well as Uranus and your power. And this is a very positive energy. Opportunities are here if you're stepping into that. If you're stepping into being in your power instead of going, well, I've got to push and shove to make it happen. No, there's a big difference between knowing and trusting versus pushing and shoving to force. Because that's not going to work. But you also have that Neptune, which is having a very unpredictable energy with Mercury. This is why I said this all has to do with your inner emotional security. How secure are you when your security is being challenged? When it's being challenged by comfort zone, especially. And because this really, all of this feels like the idea here is what I get from the consciousness is if you still believe in the comfort zone, you still need the comfort zone to make you feel secure. Well, fine, we'll give you that. But then there's no growth. That's just insanity. You can keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, but you're never really going to get anywhere. But if that's what you need, because it's the only thing that you can phantom in here and in here is to stay within those same routines, fine, we'll give that to you. But can you be more like Source? Can you step into that next, that highest, higher light of knowing? Because that's what this is, the inner communication. And a lot of mirroring is going to take place to show you exactly what this conversation is. Then you have Chiron, which is having very positive energy, speaking with Jupiter and Mars. So your character, your identity, the world around you, speaking with a higher knowledge, communication into your inner warrior, coming into that inner SWAT team. Like I said, that starts with courage, your inner belly dancer. It starts with feeling secure in your own skin, no matter what. And then it is speaking with that Mercury. What do you believe you need? And why do you need anything? What's making you question what you need versus already knowing you have it? The moon is going to be moving through Taurus, Gemini, Leo, and then, Cancer, and then into Leo. So we're moving directly towards the heart chakra anyway, towards creation. Leo, fifth house, is your creator energy. It is your fun zone. It is what makes you tick. It is your inner emotional security in the fourth house in Cancer. We are moving towards communication of creation if we can get there as we're approaching this new moon next week. We're moving closer into just how on point are we? How grown? How much spiritual maturity have you moved into? And if you haven't, that's fine, because we all trip and fall on our face and get up and have to start over again. I get knocked down just like everybody else, but I don't stay down for long. Simple. But what is really the complications of this week is Uranus, your independence, being in power of yourself, feeling liberated, feeling that freedom, is really having a problem with that Mercury. Not being able to get to do what makes you tick, what makes you, what is fun, what you want to do, enjoying things, the things that really do mean something to you, but are you getting time for them? That is the possession of something over you versus you being in power of yourself, or manipulation. This is your hobbies. This is like I said, this is also where you meet your tribe, like-minded people who want to do these same things. Not getting along, having trouble getting it done. Jupiter is not getting along with Saturn. Abundance in the communication house, higher knowledge and understanding in that communication house, is not getting along with Saturn or Nessus. The curse, overcoming, finding the healing, getting past the bullshit of the grief, sorrow, shame, blame, skeletons in the closet, and the lies and comfort zones we tell ourselves. Mars is not getting along with Neptune, not believing in the magic we're creating. The challenge is, why do we need anything? It's all here. What is it about us that makes us seek out a comfort zone versus knowing we already are the comfort zone? We just have to give it back to ourselves. And then breathe that into life and watch the mirror change. You have Lilith, the North Node, Juno, and Venus. As Venus comes into that seventh house, those relationships with finding harmony, balance, and justice, with a relationship with yourself and with others, still part of the mirror, is not getting along with that North Node, with who you are, with the character, with the world as you see it. But it's also not getting along with Neptune. Will give you whatever you want. But do you know what you want and why you want it? Because that has a lot to do with how you create it. I love you guys. I will see you next week. Bye.